And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Ecom Genius Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Funderburk, founder of Instant Scale Media. And as you guys know, I am dedicated to always bringing people in power and letting them take their genius and bring it to you. In today's episode, we have an incredible guest speaker. I can't wait for you guys to hear him. I got my man Eric in the house, and he's gonna bring it. Eric, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity of being on your podcast.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for being here. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege. And you guys know I don't like to fluff around. I like to jump straight into it. So, man, just give us some of your backstory. Let us know, like, were you always like the entrepreneur type as like a kid, or like when did all that start? Like, what did your journey look like?
So I was just telling, I was on somebody else's podcast and I was just talking about this. So when I think I was like middle school, junior high, my mom took us to, it was a summer camp, but basically it was like just a summer camp to stay out of trouble. But it was an entrepreneurial summer camp. Like, so it was in the hood. It was a lady, she had us doing different kind of stuff. I think the year I remember, I made incense. So we had an incense business. So just from that seed, like I always like felt in my mind I wasn't gonna work for somebody else. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know what it was, but it's like, nah, I'm not, I don't feel like working for somebody else. But as you know, as an adult, you gotta pay bills, so you gotta get a job. And I remember my 30th birthday, I went to Atlanta and I got hammered. Like that the day of my birthday, I was out of there. So I missed my flight. And so when I missed my flight, I had to stay, and my flight was on Sunday, so I had to stay to Tuesday. And my buddy was an entrepreneur. He what was he doing at the time? He was doing hats, but he was doing snapbacks with like the in the middle, like you could put your hair. So it was different. Like Nicki Minaj has one of Word in Barbershop 2, one of his hats. So at the time, you know, we party, we have fun on Sunday. On Monday morning, he's like, hey, I know you still here, but it's business. So he, and, you know, I had to go with him and everything. And I'm like, man, this is cool. This is something I would like to do. So I kind of started off in the trying to be in fashion, but it wasn't working for me. So I ended up getting into speaking because I joined the community and people were like, tell your story. And I'm like, tell my story. Speaking, what's that? You know, I'm from a small town. We don't really hear of speakers or anything of that sort. So I got an opportunity to speak one time. This lady I emailed, I was just emailing people and she let me come and speak at her event. And from there, people were like, you inspire me, you're impactful. And I'm like, okay. So I started doing the speaking thing, and I've been doing that since 2016.
Wow.
Haven't doing as much when COVID hit and all that, but I still been doing it, like posting on videos and stuff. So then in that time frame, I had a radio show, and it didn't work out or anything of that sort. So I started a podcast. And in the podcast, I wasn't myself. I was trying to be the motivational guy, tell my story. And I'm like, this isn't me. I'm a little ghetto. I cuss, like I'm funny, like I'm not being myself. So I started one myself. Then I started interviewing people. Then I had some co-hosts. One of them passed away last year in an accident. So I rebranded. Now I have Underdog Talk. So I interview people and they just tell their story of how they were the underdog, no matter what it is, and how they got to point A to point B. So it's funny that I started off like knowing about entrepreneurs, seeing somebody in clothing. So now I think it was during the pandemic, I was like, what can I do to make some money? Like now, you know, because I wasn't working, but what can I do? People are still buying stuff. So I started a clothing line. And with me starting a clothing line, I was like, what am I going to name it? And I named it after my son. And I was like, we're going to, you know, LLC his name. This is going to be his business, but I'm doing it now. Like he'll tell people he got a clothing line, but I do all the work. So that's kind of like how I got into the entrepreneurial. I speak, got the clothing line, and then I also have a podcast of myself. So throughout life, I kind of had those. opportunities of seeing people or being somewhere. And now I kind of know my purpose, and it's like I know what I need to be doing, and it's not working for somebody else. Even
Wow.
though right now I'm a teacher, so I'm still working a 9 to 5 though at the moment.
Oh, that's cool. Working a 9 to 5 and got the multiple ventures running.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's up, man. And that's cool naming the brand after your son. That's really cool. That's I figure that's probably easier to pass down that way.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it is. Because my biological father, excuse me, passed away when I
Hmm.
was 4. He
Oh
didn't leave me
wow.
and my brother anything but questions. I mean, we got the check where our moms got that check that came every month, when a parent passes away. But
Yeah.
we got that, but we didn't get anything else. And it's like I want my son to have more than what I had if something was to ever happen to me. Like he has his own business, so he can do whatever he wants with his name, rather than me naming it something else and then he don't like it or whatever. He can change it to Christian Dewan construction or whatever he wants to do, he can do that. So I made it so he can have something of his own, and then he's watching me during the process. He's learning also, so he'll be able to do his own thing rather than once he's finished with school want to go work for somebody else.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's super cool. It sounds like you're like me. Like I was not. We actually have a friend over right now, and she was just asking like, "Hey, like you guys like always been entrepreneurial?" And like I always been entrepreneurial. I'd tell you straight up, when I was in elementary school, I was like, I ain't working for nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just excuse me. It was just something like for me, since I have, a physical disability, people ain't gonna hire me. It's hard to get a job. Only way I get a job if I know somebody. So it's
Mm,
like, why have to depend on knowing somebody when I can create my own? And that's kind of how it's always been. I always thought different. I always was like, I just didn't know what I was going to do, when I was younger. And it took, life's path to get me to being 30 and really understanding. So sometimes people understand it early. Some people take it late. I started at 30. 30, like if you look at it, it's kind of old. If I wanted to start rapping, I'm 35 right now. I'm a little too old to start rapping. But am I too old to start rapping? You can do anything you want. So I think you just gotta go through your trials in life and get to that point to where you understand what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Because sometimes you can be a hustler, think you're an entrepreneur. You're not. You ain't got no paperwork. You ain't putting taxes on you. Like taxes is hard when you got a business. Like you got to remember everything, write everything down. Because if you don't, when it's time to do taxes, you got like, oh, I got to go through all my notes. I got to go through all that. Then you might, like people don't understand like hustling is different. And sometimes
mhm.
we see that growing up, depending on where you grew up, and we think that's the move, but it's like you got to have a purpose behind whatever you're doing, and you got to have a why behind whatever you're doing too.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah. When people think hustling and being an entrepreneur are the same things, I'm like, nah. You might be able to make it to 50K, maybe 100K off of just pure hustle. And you better get your stuff together because, like you said, with them taxes, boy, they'll come after if you ain't got your stuff together.
And listen, they will come after you. You better quit playing.
That's crazy. If all works well, which is crazy, like the type of goals I have, because I'm like, I ain't paying taxes. Like I ain't paying taxes. But it's crazy to be in a position now where I'm like, my goal this year is what most people make a year. It's like I'm hoping that's all I pay in taxes.
Yeah, yeah. See, and for me, I'm kind of still starting off. I was like, I don't want a tax refund. Like my tax refund this year went like real. It's like it wasn't really nothing. So I'm like, this is the last year I ever even want taxes because like I want to be in a different tax bracket. Like
Yeah.
people don't understand that. Like when you start a business, when you have these things, you got to have goals, and your goals got to be crazy as hell because if they're not, then you won't be able to get to them, or it'll be a small goal, and that small goal you won't work as hard. Like if I say I want to make 50,000 a month, that's to people around me. That's like what? That's crazy. No, it's not crazy because the people I want to be around or I should be around, they're like, oh yeah, I make that in a day. So what you
Yep.
talking about? And it's like when I hear that, I get like inspired to like go go harder or be more strategic. Because sometimes you could hustle, like you said, you could hustle and get a certain amount, but you got to be strategic if you want to have a long-term or build an empire or leave an impact or whatever you want to put behind it. But if you want it to be long-term, you got to have a strategy, you got to have a plan. My mom always told me that, have a plan no matter what you're doing. And no matter if it was good or bad, I always had a plan. Like it's a plan behind what I'm doing. Now, I'm not just doing it just for the heck of it.
That's right. That plan's great. So I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday, and he has a brand that's like, they're barely, like, sometimes they might make sales, some months they ain't gonna do nothing. And we just sat together and made a plan and a strategy. I'm like, bro, we're about to take you from zero to $60,000 in 3 months off of a TikTok strategy.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to be consistent. That's the difference. That's the difference. Because say you give him the information, okay, he do it for like a week. Okay, he sees something, he's like, all right, but then the next week he only do it 1 or 2 days. It's like, well, I don't see nothing. Well, you didn't do the same thing you did last week. So you got to be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm learning that. Like I've seen people that I've started off with, they do all different kinds of stuff, like just in the community. And I'm like, man, they make bread. Like, why am I not? Because I ain't consistent. So I'm like, let me focus on 1 or 2 things and be consistent with them. Like the podcast, I'm consistent. The clothing line, I'm getting back to being consistent with it. But I got a fashion show coming up. It's my first one. So I'm like, from March till it's in next month, April, I'm not, my focus is the fashion show because that's going to bring a lot of stuff, and I got to make sure I'm on my stuff. Because if I come and I'm weak and everybody gonna be like, what is this? Who is this guy? And it's gonna mess up. It's the first opportunity. I could have more opportunities, and people all over, because it's people coming from different states that's gonna be there, and then they're gonna live stream it too. So it's gonna be a big opportunity. So that's been my main focus on the clothing line though.
That's dope. So you was talking about goals. And feel free to say, nah, I can't share that yet if you got to, but what's the goals for the clothing line? Like what you see coming down the pipe?
For the clothing line, my goals right now really is to make like 1,000 a month consistently for like at least 2 or 3 months, just to see what it is, to see what I'm doing right. Because I know what to do, but it's that I'm not doing it, because it's like I'm doing everything by myself. So it's like I have to put more energy behind it. But the short-term goal is to crush this fashion show, to have every model that I have in the outfit that I have representing the brand, looking fresh, and people like, oh, I want that. Oh, I need that. Like, so I want to do that. And then eventually I want to be at least making 5 figures a month off the clothing brand. That would be to stop working and then focus, like be able to create a team behind that, and then focus more on the podcast and speaking, because my voice is is my vehicle. So it's like, and then with the clothing line, make merch for the podcast. So because I wanna start giving away like shirts for people, because people maybe start listening. Oh, he giving away this. Listen more, and just to those people that's been supporting from like day one, outside of friends or family, like people that supporting just because they heard it or they seen a post and they've been listening to it. It'd be crazy when people tell you that, but yeah, that's the short-term goal this year for the clothing brand, to make by the end of the year, make five figures, and then crush this fashion show. And then another goal is to have more models, like make stuff where like I have my own photo shoot type thing. That's one goal. I was supposed to do that at the end of February, but it got pushed back. But like a photo shoot, so I can have more on the website of people wearing the clothes. So it brings more attraction. So it's other goals. I don't want to get all into my goals, but yeah, those are like goals that I can think of that I don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no, that's dope. So you guys listening, make sure you check them out. Christian Dewan, right?
Yep, ChristianDewan.com.
Christian Dewan, y'all go buy some of the clothes. If you're a model, hit him up. He's looking for models. Let's help him hit his goals this year, guys. But I want to dive deeper. So, and I definitely want to speak on your podcast as a guest at some point.
I
But
got you. I got you. I got you.
but tell me about that. Tell me about the podcast and how was it starting that up and how's that running?
So, like I said, I was in radio first. And the crazy thing about it, I spoke that in existence when I was younger. I think I was either like high school or like in my 20s. Can't remember exactly. At some point, it was me and one of my close friends at the time. We were talking about being on the radio because we always done stuff. It was funny. We knew how to talk, all that. So we talked about it. And the crazy thing is, the person that was my co-host had the same last name as my friend back then. So it was like kind of a weird kind of thing. So it didn't work out at the radio station. So I'm like, I'm hearing about podcasts, and I'm like, okay, you can do this on your phone. That's easy. And he didn't want to do it. So I'm like, all right, cool. And that's when I first started speaking. Like I said, I was doing motivational. I was doing all right, but I wasn't myself. And then I went through life. I got married, and then I was married for like 2, 3 years, got a divorce. So that divorce was in the middle of that. So when I restarted the podcast, I was like, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna cuss, I'm gonna talk my trash, I'm gonna tell my crazy stories, I'm gonna be transparent, I'm gonna just be me and motivate people. I'm just gonna be myself. So I did that for a while, and then I started interviewing people. And I started off small, like interviewing my son, my daughter, interviewing like my mom, like, but not just interviewing them as, hey mom, how you do? No, like interviewing my mom, like, how was it having a son with a disability? Different stuff like that. So then I started getting traction, and people wanted to be on. So then, I'm getting people, but I kind of wanted a co-host. So I had this one friend, and me and her always went at it, like when we were together. And I'm like, you should be on the show. So we were on. She got on the show. Her cousin, which was my friend too, got on the show, and then my bro got on the show. So we all were tourists. So we're gonna change it from it's a Jones thing to tourist shit. So we have this meeting. We hash everything out. We all on the same page. That Monday, it was Thursday because we always recorded on Thursday. That Monday, Crystal passed away. She got hit by a car.
Oh
So
wow.
that changed everything for the podcast, because the other co-host, that was her cousin, that's like her best friend, her sister. She was like, she was like, give me some time. I'm like, I understand, because I need some time too. And after some time, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back rolling. And I could tell their energy wasn't where my energy was with the podcast. So I rebranded again, and I came up with Underdog Talk, because I'm an underdog, and I'm like, I'm gonna talk to other underdogs about certain stuff. I want to do video. I did a couple of videos here in Indianapolis, but my laptop's down. Got to get that fixed. And once I get that fixed, I'll be able to do video. But I've been doing audio with different people with different stories, and just kind of like you, having a conversation. They give some tips at the end, and that's part of the show. I mean, that's the show. Eventually I want to be on tour. Like I told my son, I was like, yeah man, I was in Brooklyn this week, I'm gonna be in England. I was like, I'm gonna be this place, that place. He's like, how? I'm like, I'm doing a podcast, that's where these people live. And I was like, one day we're gonna be able to go to these different places, and I'm gonna be doing the podcast. And he's like, all right, cool. He's 7. He's like, all right, cool. I'm like, yeah. So after that, that's where the podcast is at. That's where I wanted to go. I want to be able to go on tour. I eventually want to have a consistent like co-host, but still interview people. And I love doing it because I love talking to people. I love getting different people's perspective, and it's my own thing. It's like something I came up with. Like, I think I'm gonna take Underdog Talk. I got some stuff coming up that I want to do. I'm not gonna talk about it because I want to get it done, then be able to talk about it. But I think I'm gonna take the Underdog Talk, because I spell underdog different. I spell it DAWG instead of DOG. And that's going to be my thing from here on out. But the podcast is going to be part of that platform.
I love it. I love it. So that's cool. My favorite thing about your story is just like, you're like, all right, I did this came up, this stopped this, so I rebranded, I did this, all right, that didn't work. So I did, And it's like, yo, it's like he talked about just being consistent. You gotta keep going, as an underdog, like, can't nothing stop you. You just keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me what your mentality is like, man, as you're pushing through. What's going through your head?
So I think like right now as an adult, a lot of it comes from growing up with a disability, going through having different surgeries, being bullied, going through that whole thing and overcoming that. Cause it's like that's gonna be with me for the rest of my life. Like, that's not gonna change. So anything else is easy. Like it's not that hard. I mean, it's hard, but it's not hard to overcome because this is physical, this is mental, this is something that a lot of people don't understand. So it's not like I can go to anybody that's close to me and talk to something about that because they don't have that particular situation or have been through that situation. So just understanding life's gonna punch you in the face, but keep rolling. Like be happy that my feet are on this side of the ground. Like, just happy that I woke up this morning. And once you realize like stuff's gonna happen, but you still got to keep going because if you don't, you're just gonna be in the same situation you was the year before and the year before, and it's like you don't want to be in those situations. It's like I'm talking to people, I'm sure their bank accounts is loaded and mine is not, and it's like I got to get to that point. So it's like keep pushing. Like I'm getting the information, I'm being around these people, getting the resources. Like just do the work. And that's kind of where I'm at now, just doing the work, like silently, just doing the work, not worrying about other people, and then having boundaries. Like you
Mm.
gotta have boundaries. Like I go to bed between 9:30 and 10. Some nights I be up a little later, but I'm not staying up. I get up at 5. Like we not about to talk on the phone, small talk. No, sorry, I'm going to bed. My phone goes on don't disturb at 10. Like you're not gonna get in touch with me. I'm asleep. Like it's like just having those boundaries. And then like my shirt it says I love my peace. You
Mm.
have to love yourself, your peace. You have to be able to be around yourself. And I think me going through a divorce and really having to be by myself, starting over and learning myself, that helped me to now like let's go, let's get it. Like
Mm.
do what you're supposed to do. That's it's simple, but it's not simple. It's like you got to go through something major for you to get you to a certain point. So sometimes don't look at the storms as a bad thing. The storms are something good because it's a blessing right after them. So anything that's happened in life, something's good's happened after it. So I understand like take that punch back. Like you got to punch back. If you don't punch back, then that's on you. Like you allow life to whoop you. Like you got to punch back. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, but just keep going.
I love it. That's crazy, man. I tried to go to sleep early 3 weeks ago, and it was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. But like my body does not sleep long at all. So
Yeah.
I go to sleep at 10, 12 o'clock, I'm up. And I was up for hours. Like I'm typically 4 or 5 o'clock, I go to sleep. 7, 8, 9 o'clock, I'm back up and I'm hitting it.
Yeah, see, but I was like that. I would go to sleep early, wake up 1, and I'm up, and I'm like, okay. But then it's like, what do I do? Sometimes when we wake up, we can't sleep. We might sit in the bed scrolling, but it's like, no, let me get up and do something, be productive. Like the other night, I couldn't go to sleep. And it was like 2 in the morning, but I'm making flyers. I'm doing something productive. I'm watching something that I can learn from. And that's the difference. Like, so once I started doing that, the sleep, I got on a sleep schedule. I was being consistent with the sleep. And that's how I got there. Cause at first I was going to sleep at 10, waking up. I'm like, man, then I'm at work and I work with kids. And I'm like, man, this ain't gonna work. So, but I learned to take naps. I take a nap on my break. Like at work, I got an hour break. I'm taking a nap. Like majority of the time, even if it's like 30, 20 to 30 minutes, I'm taking a nap.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps, get me back up. And then when I get off work, I understand, all right, I get home at like 6, from 6 to 6:30, I'm kind of chilling. I can kind of do whatever, relax. But then to 8:30, I got to be productive because at 8:30, it's time to start getting ready for bed. So it's just being on a schedule and being consistent with that to really get your sleep to where you want to where you can go to sleep, because sleep is very important. Like, we don't really think it's like, oh, let's get a little sleep. No, sleep is very important because your body will tell you, hey, can you sit down? Yeah. You don't want to sit down. Oh, okay, I got you. I'm gonna make you sit down. You get sick or something happen, and you like, hold on, what's going on? It's just because you don't get sleep.
Yep, sleep is huge.
Huge.
I can't, my body will not do too much, but it won't do too little. I learned the least I can go off of is 30 minutes of sleep. And I can do that for 2 months straight. And then after that, my body shuts down. I get 12 to 14 hours of sleep 2 days in a row. So it's like, I try not to play that game, because if I got something major coming up and then my body's like, nah, it's time.
Yeah.
Whatever that's going on that next day is done. It's like, my
But
body
hold
ain't
on.
getting up.
You just hold on. We're not gonna skip past that. You just said you can go off of 30 minutes of sleep
Yeah, I can
for
do that every
2 months
day for
straight,
about 2
every day.
months.
Man, what kind of what is in your in your diet? Because I need that. I need whatever. What kind of medicine? What you taking, man? What kind of craziness? If I get 30 minutes, oh yeah, I'm angry. I'm not gonna be even able to do it. But I mean, everybody's different. But that's crazy that you can do that, and there's people like that. And that's, at some point you gotta go for a small amount of sleep and not get the rest that you need, because your opportunity might come at 2 or 3 in the morning. The idea might come, whenever.
That's
So
when
you
I'm my
gotta
most creative.
out. But that's crazy though. 30 minutes though. 30.
Yeah, between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m., that's when all my creativity kicks in. So that's when I do all my planning and all my strategic marketing and everything. I'm like, oh no, I'm creating at this time, because I'm just, even when I was in school, it's off that same schedule. I knew 12 to 4, I'm productive. If I got to get ready for school at 5, I'm still staying up till 4 and I'm grinding.
I think even as a kid, because I remember getting up at like 6 because Sports Center would be on. But like, I was always like, at a certain point I wasn't a morning person, but I always been in college. I wasn't a morning person, but for the most part, I'm a morning. Even in college, kind of in college, like the second time I went to college, it was like we would go out and party, but me and one of my buddies, we up the next morning at 9, cleaning up, cooking. Like, so it's like I've always been able to bounce back and get up early, the little amount of sleep. Sometimes I don't like my son, because I be sitting there looking at him when he over and he's sleeping all good, and it's like, man, I wish I could get that kind of sleep. I wish I could, or like I go to sleep way after him, get up before him, and he wake up talking about he tired. Tired? You tired? Oh, okay.
My wife, that kind, she'll go to sleep at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, sleep till 10, 11 a.m. And she wake up like, man, I'm tired. I ain't getting no rest. I'd be like, what? Like, girl, you doing it wrong, apparently.
Something ain't right. You maybe, I don't know. You from 9 to 9. Oh, if I could get a 9 to 9 sleep, oh my goodness. I don't even know the longest I probably sleep straight is maybe 7 hours. Maybe, like, not like, maybe, like, yeah, if I sleep 7, 8 hours, boy, I'm gonna wake up and run through a wall.
Yeah, my body ain't letting me go past 4 hours. 4 hours, I'm up. Yeah. It's crazy, but because I one of my first like traditional like brick and mortar businesses was I opened a tattoo shop when I was like 19, 20 years old. And a dude I went to school with hit me up. He's like, it was crazy because like I was working the job, driving the truck, got T-boned, so like my spine's messed up. So I'm like, dang, I gotta recover. And by the time I can recover and go back to work, I'm like, yo, I don't even feel comfortable doing this job no more. So I'm like, I gotta figure something out. So I was sitting here praying, and I'm like, God, what should I do? And the next day, I randomly get this tattoo magazine in the mail that I requested months ago. So I took the magazine. I'm just sitting there drawing the tattoos like all day. All I did was draw tattoos. And then my boy hit me. I was like, yo, I just got this hookup for a tattoo shop if you want to go into business with me. So I'm like, bro, I've been drawing tattoos all day. Let's go. So we get the shop opened up, and we were open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Or no, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., excuse me. And I'll be in the shop from open to close. And then afterwards, it's like, crap, well, we ain't got people coming to the shop. Well, where are we going to find our clientele? Oh, man, most people that's getting tattoo shops, they like to party. So then the shop will close. Then we'll go hit a party up. Well, crazy thing is, I'm the only one that got a car. So we started bringing on like, and this was just the routine. And then we start bringing on, we start hitting the Art Institute of Charlotte up. We got 2 tattoo artists apprentice from the school. We'll hit all the kickbacks and we had all those parties, bringing people back to the shops. But it was like, I'll wake up at 8, we'll close at 10, go party till like 2, 3, 4 a.m. And then I gotta drive everybody back home. I get home, take a shower, get back in the car, go pick everybody else back up. And then we go right back to the shop. And I was like, yo, my first 3 days, I remember of opening the shop, I didn't get a single minute of sleep.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, and I think like we don't realize certain stuff we used to do that helps us to this point. Because when you were talking about that, because I was thinking of college, and it's past the time I used to sell weed back in school, me and my buddies, because our moms couldn't send us no money. So not just, but just doing that, just being places and networking with people and talking, and then we had other hustles that we were doing that can't talk about, but we were making money. But it was like the grind never stopped. But that's kind of how we were talking earlier, those little hustles, because you were doing all that, but it was like you could have had a team. All right, hey, y'all go to the parties, y'all get y'all people, y'all network, y'all do this, so you could be at home sleep. But we don't think about those things when we're young. We just boom, 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 boom. And now that we're older, it's like, okay, we got a strategy. Like you just said, your best hours are 2 to 4 in the morning. So I need to get a little rest before that time so I can be up. So when that time comes, boom, I'm on it. For me, it's like around 5, 6. That's when I'm up doing, and certain things come to my head. I know I need to be up at those times to do what I need to. Before, when we were doing back when we were younger and running on on fumes, and it was like we're doing this, we're doing that, but we didn't have to do that. Now we understand that we get a team or we got people, they can do that, because okay, we might got some friends that love to party. All right, while you partying, I need you to promote. Boom, you got that covered.
I was wishing they would do that. They ain't promote not once. I'm
No,
like,
yeah,
bro, y'all just using my resources to go party. I'm like,
yeah, like
but I'm like,
that's
whatever.
how it is. That's how it is. Your friends are you. Yeah, that's my boy. Man, you ain't put in an hour of work. I ain't your boy. Get away from
I'm
me.
like, what y'all doing? I'm like, yo, y'all gonna invite them back to the shop? Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Go talk to them. I'm like, bro, but it was cool because like I'm naturally a mega introvert. And like all of them was like they're extrovert, they're the life of the party. So people will flock to them. And as people flock to them, like I always made sure I was around. So they're like, yo, what y'all do or whatever. And I'm like, yo, we're actually on the shop. And I can start giving out flyers and bringing people back. But they didn't care about none of that. They was partying.
Yeah, yeah, and then we think like our friends are like the ones that's supposed to be with us. Because if you think about it, if you had people that wasn't your friend, but oh yeah, I'll promote, yeah, gonna promote just because you like they can party. But your friends like, I'm gonna party regardless because you my homie. So I ain't really even gotta promote because you ain't gonna tell me no. And we don't be understanding that as we're younger, but as we're older, we you understand, I can't really work with friends or family. I need to maybe get some people that maybe I met as an adult, but they're very talented on social media. They're not scrolling on social media, but they're an expert at promoting and doing this and building brands. Let me holler at them, or whatever the case may be. And I think as some listeners, like if you're younger, like don't always want to go for the friends and family, or don't get upset because friends and family don't support. Because guess what? They not they not. Your mom might. Your mom, your mom's your dad. They might. Depending on what it is, if it ain't against, their liking, they might support once or twice. But you gotta go after your target audience. You gotta go after the people that that you're going after. And as an entrepreneur, to be a full time, like I'm understanding that, and that separates the entrepreneur full time and part time, knowing your audience. Because once you have your audience, now you have people that are willing to pay you and not paying you just because they know you since first grade or whatever the case may be. Now you got people that's like, oh, I love what you're doing, or this didn't, that and the third. So it's like be very careful when you doing business with your friends and your family.
You got to always tell people like, just thinking from business. I'm like, I'm pretty sure when people like start a McDonald's franchise, they don't buy McDonald's like, oh man, my mom, my dad love Big Macs. Like, nah, they don't care about their friends and family. They're like, yo, I'm trying to do some business.
Exactly. Yep. And I mean, you definitely have to learn that though. I mean, you don't always have to, but like some people, you go through that and you like, why am I not making sales? Because you're not marketing to the right people, and you got to understand who those right people are. The right people are people like you. Because even though you friends with people, you're all different. I'm
Mhm.
definitely different. I think different. I do different stuff. So it's like there's people out there that are just like you, and that's who you market to, is people that think like you and that you want to help them get to whatever level. Or if you got clothes like me, somebody that will wear the shirt that I got or the hoodie that I made. Like somebody thinks like me, and that's how that's how you start making that money and start just being consistent at that once you get that audience.
Yep. Once you know that audience, everything starts to get smooth after that point.
Definitely.
Well, cool, brother. Well, for the sake of time, I do just want to take a moment just to open up the floor to you, let people know where they can find you, promote whatever it is you got going on, whatever you want to promote. The floor is all yours.
All right. So for Christian Dewan, ChristianDewan.com, Christian Dewan Jones on Facebook, and Christian Dewan J, or Christian / Dewan J on Instagram. If you're listening, use hashtag underdog podcast, and you can get 15% off just because I'm on this platform. So we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff on there. I haven't put anything new out there because I'm waiting for the fashion show, but you definitely can get something for the babies, the toddlers, the youth, the moms, the dad, grandma, auntie, whoever you want. Get it for yourself. Very comfortable clothes. For the podcast, Underdog Talk is under DAWG Talk Podcast at Gmail. If you want to email me, if you want to be on the show, if you have any ideas, or if you want to maybe be a co-host. And I'm looking for one. I pray on it all the time to see, give me the right one, because sometimes, I get distracted with someone that looks like they should be on there. But for Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, is Underdog Podcast, Underdog Talk Podcast, and I drop every Wednesday on any podcast platform at 5 p.m. Uh, that's it. And then I have my, where I kind of speak. You get to see me as a person. Eric Jones Jr. speaks at Instagram on Instagram.
Dope. There we go. And I make sure I'll link to all the description boxes. But bro, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a privilege talking to you and learning from you. Also, listening to you as well as you listen to me.
Yes, sir. And for everybody that's watching, everybody that's listening, thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.